Welcome to Epic Story Hub, where ordinary moments turn into extraordinary journeys. Today, we bring you a story that begins not with screams or chaos, but with quiet courage. A small girl whose steps might seem fragile to some, but carry a strength forged in moments no child should ever face. The sun had already begun to dip below the horizon, painting the streets in golden orange as the city hummed with life, and she walked briskly through narrow alleyways, her small backpack bouncing gently against her back, her mind alert. Every shadow watched, every noise registered: a rustle of leaves, a distant bark of a dog, a car engine turning corners. She knew these streets better than most because she had learned quickly that every step counted and that every decision could make the difference between safety and danger. Her name was Layla, just 8 years old, and yet already carrying a wisdom that seemed far beyond her years. She was on her way home from school, the backpack heavy with books but lighter than the burden she carried in silence. And yet as she turned the corner toward her usual path, a van slowly rolled from the shadows, black windows reflecting the fading light, and before she could run, two hands grabbed her from behind, covering her mouth. A voice, low and threatening, told her to be quiet if she wanted to breathe, and she froze for a moment, fear squeezing her chest, the words of her mother echoing in her mind. Be brave, be smart, trust your instincts. The van door slid open, and she was shoved inside the darkness, swallowing her whole, the faint smell of leather and gasoline filling her nose, her small hands scrabbling at the floor, looking for purchase, looking for anything to help her escape. But the man was strong, his grip unyielding, his voice harsh, repeating the same instructions. Do not scream. And she nodded silently, calculating silently, planning every move before the first real panic could take over. She could feel the van moving, the tires rolling over cracks and stones, her heart thumping so loudly she thought it might be heard through the walls of the vehicle. She knew she had to stay calm. She remembered her father teaching her about observing her surroundings, noticing small details. She counted the number of seats in the van, listened to the hum of the engine, the cadence of the tires, and when the man shifted his attention to something outside, she seized her chance, her small fingers grabbing the latch on the side door, testing it, pulling with every ounce of strength she had. And to her relief, it moved a fraction, a tiny victory, but enough to give her hope. The van slowed as the man adjusted the rear-view mirror, and Layla shifted silently. She crouched low, her legs tucked underneath her body, her eyes scanning for anything that might help her escape: a jagged rock, a gap in the fence, a narrow alley she could squeeze through. She remembered the self-defense lessons from school, the words of her teacher running through her mind: always find the path of least resistance. Use your size to your advantage. Move when they least expect it. And she waited. She counted silently, 1, 2, 3, until the moment came when he reached for something in the glove compartment. With a sudden burst of energy, she pushed open the door, rolling onto the pavement, scraping her knees and elbows, but running anyway, her small feet pounding the asphalt. Sprinting toward the lights of a nearby park, she could hear him shouting behind her, his footsteps heavy against the concrete, her lungs burning, her legs aching. But she did not stop. She had trained her mind to focus, to push beyond the fear, to channel every ounce of energy into one goal: survival. The streetlights flickered as she ran, the shadows playing tricks on her eyes, every tree and bench seeming like a potential hiding place. She dove behind a trash bin, her chest heaving, her eyes scanning for the van, which had stopped momentarily, but now its lights were sweeping the street, searching, and she prayed silently, hoping no one would see her, praying for a moment to gather strength. And then she sprinted again toward the main road, her mind calculating every turn, every potential escape route. And then she saw it. A small, open shop still lit. The bell above the door chimed as she ran inside, collapsing against the counter, clutching her backpack, her eyes wide, the shopkeeper looking at her in surprise and concern. She gasped, words spilling out her voice, trembling. Someone tried to take me. They tried to take me. He grabbed me. And she pointed toward the street outside, and the man, his face pale. The shopkeeper grabbed the phone, calling the authorities immediately. The sound of sirens in the distance, giving her a fragile sense of relief. But she did not lower her guard. She could still hear the van's engine in the background, still searching, still hunting. She backed into the corner, keeping her eyes on the door, every muscle ready to move at a moment's notice. The police arrived quickly, their presence commanding and immediate. They questioned her gently, asking her to explain what had happened, and she told them everything, every detail from the van, to the hands, to the smell, every movement, every sound she remembered, and her mind recounted it as if it were a map, a blueprint, a guide to help them catch the man. And as she spoke, the officers nodded, taking notes, moving to secure the area surrounding the street. The van was spotted, abandoned its door, open, no one inside. But for Layla, she knew the man was not gone. He would not give up easily, and she braced herself for anything, knowing she had survived the first and most dangerous moment. The news spread fast, social media capturing her story, images of the street and the shop, going viral, people cheering and praising her bravery, calling her a hero, calling her smart, calling her courageous. And yet she did not see herself that way. She had simply acted. She had followed instinct and knowledge. And she knew now more than ever that courage was not absence of fear. It was moving forward despite it. And as the investigation continued, the authorities tracked down the man through the descriptions Layla had given and through surveillance. And within a day, he was apprehended, restrained and arrested, and the community breathed a collective sigh of relief. And though her body ached from running from the van, from rolling on the pavement, from the fear that had gripped her, she felt a strange sense of peace, a sense of strength, a sense of pride that she had done what many adults would have struggled to do. She had survived, and she had escaped because she had been brave, because she had thought clearly, because she had refused to let fear control her. Her parents arrived at the shop, overwhelmed, tears streaming down their faces, their arms wrapping around her. And she realized that home was not just a place. It was safety and love. It was the embrace that heals and reassures. And as she looked at the faces of those around her, she understood that courage had a ripple effect, that even a single child could inspire adults to act, to protect, to care, to fight against evil. Days later, Layla returned to school, her backpack once again heavy. With books, her steps confident, her head held high, she walked past classmates and teachers, smiling faintly, because she had a secret. They did not know that she had stared fear in the face and had come out stronger. And that lesson would stay with her forever. And in the quiet of her room that night, she wrote down her story, carefully making notes for herself, for her own record. She knew that bravery was not about recognition. It was about action. It was about survival and hope. And she drifted to sleep, dreaming of brighter days, of open streets, of laughter, and of a world where courage always triumphed. This was Epic Story Hub, where ordinary lives reveal extraordinary truths. Subscribe for more stories that stay with you long after they end, because the next story may just change the way you see the world.